It's hard to imagine what life in the armed forces was like, but it was a journey back in time for a group of Year 11 students today. The Q store at the Broadmeadow Showground is designed to recreate what it was like for Australian soldiers to be fitted out and sent on their way.
Company Q store, which would have the weapons, the ammunition stuff required for a company to go in the field.
Then it was time for some marching orders. A special wartime exhibit has been set up in the pavilion featuring a number of vehicles including a fully restored 1942 amphibious duck.
The turnaround was quite smart. They were very fast on the land, not real fast in the water, but very reliable. That was one of the main things about them.
The NRMA held an important role during the Second World War.
It was the largest organisation of its kind in Australia, and it was used mainly, as I said, for distributing troops and returning servicemen around the state.
The trip down memory lane will culminate in a huge variety concert tonight. On the program here at the Entertainment Centre, a night of nostalgia. Bobby Lim is hosting the event, which features a number of guest artists and music from an era gone by. The meeting at the Bull Street headquarters was a chance for staff to lash out over the massive reforms. About 160 administration and support staff are technically displaced until they can reapply for positions within the 4 new districts. Many will be forced to relocate.
Staff will have the opportunity to express interest in jobs, and the choice as to whether they are prepared to move or whether they're able to move naturally will be dependent on their personal circumstances.
As second in charge of the state's Education Department, Jan McClelland is responsible for helping to implement the changes. It's an 18-month process, with the Hunter's new structure expected to be in place next term.
During that time, we'll be gradually phasing in the new district structure. We'll be establishing the positions in districts, filling them, as well as deciding on which state office functions will be relocated in places such as Newcastle.
Schools are concerned the reforms will affect the level of future support. The department says they have nothing to worry about.
I don't think they should be concerned. I think that change always brings with it a degree of uncertainty, but the new structure is designed very much to increase the level of support for schools and to take it closer to the schools through a district office structure.
Engineers today inspected the helicopter at the Westpac chopper base. The chopper was forced to make an emergency landing in a paddock near Curry on Tuesday. It's believed the drive shaft, which supplies power to the main rotors, failed. The part was brand new.
It was 1 hour and 10 minutes old. We'd actually done quite a lot of maintenance on the aircraft at the time, so it was a brand new part.
The Bureau of Air Safety Investigation has taken the new part to conduct further inquiries into the incident.
It's just glided down, auto-rotation down to the ground from 4,000 feet. It was a tremendous amount of skill by the pilot to land that aircraft.
It's estimated it will take between 2 and 3 weeks to repair this helicopter. In the meantime, the Hunter's second Westpac chopper will be used. Jane Anderson, NBN News.
"18-year-old Jane Lawrence has been dancing since she can remember.
It's just everything. I mean, it's my way of life. I can't imagine myself doing anything else. It's what I want to do and what I want to be.
Choosing ballet as a career meant that high school studies had to be done by correspondence. The distance education program allowed Jane to excel at both her schoolwork and dance, gaining the state's top HSC position in 2-unit classical ballet.
For many cases at school, there is sometimes idle time, whereas when they're dedicated and focused on a career, not only ballet, in anything that they're focused on, they will fit in their schoolwork around it.
It's just a matter of organising your time, allocating, a certain amount of time to ballet and then to school. You get it done.
This year, Jane has been studying at the London Studio Centre after being awarded a prestigious $10,000 state scholarship. She's returned home to star in a special concert in Newcastle tonight, featuring dancers from across the region, most sharing Jane's dreams for the future.
Probably one of the top ballet companies in the world somewhere, just highly recognised for sure.
The blaze took hold of the Waverley Street cottage just after 11 last night. 10 children aged between 9 and 17 were asleep in the home. The father of some of the children was out at the time. Everyone got out. One of the children needed oxygen on the scene after suffering smoke inhalation. It's believed the fire started in a bedroom, the flames quickly spreading through the weatherboard and fibro building. Firemen were hampered by difficult access to a water hydrant, losing critical seconds in trying to connect the water. This morning there was little but a shell of the home left. 80% of the house was destroyed in the blaze. Peter Ryan, NBN News.
A massive red, white and blue swamped number 1 sports ground after yesterday's 24-4 triumph, all keen to savour the hat-trick. Hours later, the celebrations intensified as the party moved west to Curry. The Coalfields community overwhelmed with their team's success.
No doubt this is our best. This is the best feeling we've had and best feeling all our supporters have had in the town. It's just great.
The treble made possible in many people's minds by Linane, who was named man of the match yesterday.
Can't play, can he? He's the best English come to Curry.
Like Williams and Linane, most had been part of the 2 previous celebrations, but some were enjoying the festivities for the first time. Gavin Cook was with beaten grand finalist Toronto last year on the receiving end of the Bulldog bite, before joining Curry this season.
I'm happy I made the switch, and you can't find any better supporters in Australia than Curry.
And one of their favourites last night was 18-year-old Mark Hughes, who recovered from a battering in the opening minutes to score 2 tries.
It's amazing. I was in the crowd last year, just a young kid watching it, and all of a sudden I'm thrown in there. And now it's done me kind of good. I just want more of it, just like the rest of them.
After winning a hat-trick of titles, the Bulldogs are now chasing 4
which would be a record in the Newcastle competition.
Town's already talking about 4, but it's a lot of pressure, but there was a lot of pressure on this year to achieve 3, so we definitely won't be going out there next year to run 2nd, 3rd, 4th or 5th, so who knows.
A replay of the grand final on NBN tonight from 10:45.
It's a fair way from the road here. We had to run out a fair few lines of hose to get to it in the first place.
It's a serious business. Some of the country's experts are putting the hunters' wines to the test. While it looks easy, sampling some of the 770 entries from 60 exhibitors can become somewhat draining.
It's a slog. It's a very hard, a great deal of concentration. It's hard work.
A panel of 10 judges at the Singleton Army Base is patiently working its way through the samples, testing appearance, flavour and nose.
We're looking for that particular character of hunter wines that makes them unique and separate.
The Hunter Valley Wine Show is restricted to local vignerons who have a glowing reputation for fine winemaking. While the quality remains high, the 1994 drought has had a big impact on Hunter Valley vineyards.
If we don't get spring rain, we're in diabolical trouble. It's as simple as that. It looks to me as if there'll be a comparative shortage of quality hunter wine for a couple of years yet.
Meantime, the show goes on. After 2 days of sniffing, swirling and spitting, the judges will announce the winners on Thursday night. Amanda Bolger, NBN News. Newcastle is the only university in Australia offering the illustration course, which specialises in drawing native flora and fauna in fine detail. As part of the course, the 9 students take part in the Margaret Senior Award. The intricate drawings by Jo Ogier stood out this year and she was presented with a $1,000 cheque. Ted Weir from the National Parks and Wildlife says the illustrations capture the tones and textures better than photographs.
The wonderful range of skills that they demonstrate, the different techniques that highlight the detail of particular animals or of plants.
This type of art is used for a number of purposes.
And for scientific illustration, it's very valuable. It's also used by the students in other careers, in design, for example, using natural motifs. And they not only use wildlife, but they can branch out into many other aspects of graphic art using the skills they present here.
Amanda Bolger, NBN News.
Glass plates like these are a clear but fragile reminder of Newcastle's past. The City Library has a priceless collection of photographic plates, negatives, slides and prints, stretching back as far as the 1870s. Each image is now being digitally recorded on computer by a council-sponsored company called the Hunter Photo Bank.
It really just brings home where Newcastle has come from as an industrial city and how important the harbour was to Newcastle in its historic development. And how things have changed quite a lot over the years, and also how a lot of things haven't changed as well.
Once scanned, the original photos can be stored safely, but their digital images can be called up and reproduced within seconds, a facility that will in time be available to the public. The company's already recorded about 10,000 pictures, including the historic Ralph Snowball collection. It has another 50,000 to go. The photo bank operation is making its debut at the Newcastle Business Exhibition, now underway at the City Hall. The first such show for a number of years, the exhibition brings together state-of-the-art hardware and services available to make running a business easier and more efficient.
Pest Free is a local business selling its product to the world. Since setting up in January, 8,000 units have been sold both here and overseas, and the company is looking to expand to Asia. This simple electrical device emits a current which repels vermin and other pests. Ray Connell established the business. He knows just how difficult it is to compete internationally.
It's reasonably hard to get a start over there. That's the biggest thing. You've got to go over there and make contact, and you've got to have the product that they're going to accept.
Pest Free is just one business which will be assisted by the Quality to the World program. Big businesses like BHP and Orion Energy are helping smaller companies to tap into lucrative export markets. The Quality to the World program wants to make our local successful businesses as recognisable as sporting heroes. Their contributions and achievements will be promoted heavily on the sides of buses, in newspapers and on radio and television. 11 local businesses are featured in the commercial, which will run on NBN next month. If a local company requires assistance, they'll come here to the Regional Export Centre in Wolf Road. While work on the office is not yet finished, it will soon house an export advisor, a position funded by the state government. Businesses will also be given a promotional video and brochures at a minimal cost, all aimed at selling the hunter, its product and its people.
There's great potential for these people to grow, to sell their products outside the region, overseas, and that'll improve the economy in the hunter more than anything else.
The success of the $300,000 Quality to the World program will be assessed after a year.
Butts was put through his paces this morning, but the ankle injured in last week's game against the Reds didn't hold up, and the big forward will be out for the clash with the Sharks.
Tony Butterfield at the moment's not right. He's not passed his fitness test.
Butterfield has been one of the form forwards, and his no-nonsense play will be missed. Better news on Andrew Johns. There are no problems with his shoulder, and he'll be on the paddock. Injury has tormented both Johns' boys, damaging a crucial combination for the night's success.
It's been hard to sort of click into gear. We've had a bit of trouble sort of gelling together after injuries, to both of us.
Earlier, the Knights were being swamped by fans at Stockland Mall as part of a 2HD breakfast show. The players gearing up for the most important game of the season to decide which team makes the top four. And wasn't the chief chuffed? Still on league, and TV crews have been working all day to organise the set for the footy show at the Newcastle Workers Club. 1,200 tickets were distributed for the show within an hour. Catch the program on NBN at 9:35 tonight.
Separated from amongst you now at the police tent. Available. It maximises flexibility to be used as a meeting place for people or families going to different parts of the field.
After failing to gain support from Labor Party factions, Councillor John McNaughton will be quitting local government after next month's election. But the man who held office for 9 years has won the hearts of Newcastle and Hunter Area Scout Association. More than 40 members paying tribute to his contributions.
He did all of the survey work for the original subdividing of this land out of what was then BHP land.
Presented with a certificate of appreciation, his wife Margaret became overwhelmed when handed a framed photograph of the site. Mr McNaughton is credited with being the property's major developer, now a training base for thousands of scouts living in the Hunter.
It is a disappointment to us that we will no longer be Lord Mayor and Lady Mayoress after 2 or 3 weeks' time from now. But the fact is the networks don't go away and you people do it for the youth of Australia.
After serving as a camp warden in the late 60s and early 70s, he's now an honorary commissioner and part of the Baden-Powell Guild. Young and old in uniform joined in the afternoon tea. It's hoped others will be inspired by Mr McNaughton's enthusiasm for the community.
Police say a stolen Falcon being driven at more than 100 kilometres an hour smashed into a Commodore sedan carrying 5 people. The impact tore the front off the Falcon, its engine catching fire.
I heard a short, loud screech and a massive big bang. There was a lot of mess. Tyres are still spinning on the road, a lot of debris still flying in the air when I got here.
A 17-year-old boy in the Falcon and the 21-year-old driver of the Commodore were killed instantly. Rescuers had to free 4 other people from the Commodore. Another 17-year-old from that car died soon afterwards. His sister, also in her teens, and 2 others were taken to Brisbane Hospital with massive injuries. Rescuers found wreckage from the crash strewn 50 metres along Brisbane's Gateway Arterial Road. They say it's one of the worst crashes they've seen.
The decision by Shell to begin cancelling franchise agreements with owners of about 250 service stations has erupted into a bitter battle.
Today we have a group of 40 franchisees making 40 separate pricing decisions, whereas tomorrow we'll have 40 franchise outlets such as this, with one franchisee making one pricing decision.
Mario Soprano has been with the company for more than 20 years, but is one of many independent operators who've been told his franchise agreement is being wound up. He has 2 months to vacate the premises.
For this to be put on us is just like a sledgehammer hitting us, really.
But service station operators feeling betrayed by the foreign-owned oil company say they won't go down without a fight.
The oil company are being notified today that if they continue to try and disenfranchise these franchisees such as Mario here at Wall's End and many others around the country, that we will continue that fight in the courts.
The Trades Practices Commission is looking into the issue. Owners in New South Wales are calling on the Carr government to follow the ACT's lead and enforce a moratorium on the takeover until a national inquiry begins next year. But there could be a breakthrough in the dispute. Further talks with Shell will be held in Adelaide later this week. The National Action Group confident the oil company will be forced to back down. Melinda Smith, NBN News.
He's yours, Bill.
Fabulous creations of fashion gone mad or frippery for the fabric-minded? Not really, according to the experts who say not everybody these days expects their art in a frame.
I think people have the idea that fibre is actually patchwork quilting and embroidery, and that's not true. And in fact, the barriers are being extended. It's just tremendous what people are doing now in fibre and textiles.
Whatever you think of it, there's no denying the 7 textile artists featured in this exhibition spent hours on each creation.
Each artist has actually made the fabric as well as all the other bits and pieces that are incorporated into the actual artwork. Some of them, of course, have used materials that they've probably used a weaving process to do. Others have actually, well, all of the fibre has been manipulated and woven or manipulated in some way.
From silks and velvets to cottons and plastics, it's all here. And if you've a hankering to flout those fashion rules imposed by Paris and the glossy magazines, they're all for sale.
State Energy Minister Michael Egan has decided 6 new corporations will control the state's power distribution market. Out of it all, 2 major forces emerge, the new combinations of Illawarra and Prospect, Orion and Sydney. It's an arrangement that's been welcomed by the Minister assisting Premier Carr on the region's development.
Well, it's a merger that can bring the largest trading arm of an electricity undertaking in Australia to the Hunter. And that decision is to be made in the next few weeks.
The Hunter Regional Development Organisation has hailed the Orion-Sydney Union as a major step forward on the road to regionalism. But Shadow Finance Minister George Souris argues it's the exact opposite. Joining Orion with Sydney is contrary to the region's unified focus. He believes the move will split the Hunter in two, divide the region's basic infrastructure and create a huge destabilising effect.
I really say to Mr Torres, you had 7 years to do something about it. We've had 4.5 months, and I think George is a great guy, but I don't think you could take him seriously on this one.
Warnings have been issued over proposed job losses, the Electrical Trades Union threatening power blackouts if the government goes back on its promise of no forced redundancies.
We certainly will be strongly putting those views on the preserving of roads and jobs as much as we can, yes.
Talks with Minister Egan and the heads of 25 power distribution companies on how the changes will take place began in Sydney today. Melinda Smith, NBN News.
A wall of thick smoke created a hazard for drivers on the New England Highway at Thornton. Police closed one lane and slowed traffic while firefighters tried to bring the blaze under control. Captain Eric Larkins says it was deliberately lit.
I believe it was. We arrived here and there was 4 spot fires when we arrived, all around the area.
Given the extremely dry conditions at present, Captain Larkins is warning people to be very careful.
Just be careful, it's a dry season. The grass is very dry at present, and if they don't be careful, there's going to be lives lost.
Meanwhile, brigades were kept busy at Warrabrook near Newcastle. They backburned to keep a fire in scrub away from a housing estate. The blaze sent a pall of smoke over nearby suburbs. Jane Anderson, NBN News.
What are we here for a haircut or what?
There are just 3 games to the playoffs, but the Falcons were releasing some of the stress today with their own special version of cricket. Far more serious is Tony Jensen's pinched nerve in his back after a mishap at training earlier this week. But he will play, although he may spend more time on the bench than usual. For Jensen, it's also another milestone. He and Matty Alexander will both notch up 50 games for the club.
We're still a couple of 100,000 behind Michael Johnson, but it's important because it shows that we've been around here and we're very happy here. So all those little milestones help.
The Adelaide 36ers will be tough. They are pushing to keep a top 8 spot and have won the last 4 on the trot. The Falcons need to win to maintain a top 4 finish of the regular season. Peter Ryan, NBN News.